asking me to resend him the invite, so I just did.
Okay, thank you.
He should be here momentarily.
Drew, you were able to get that correspondence I sent the second try? Okay.
Again. You guys hearing me better tonight?
Yes.
Making effort to sit up closer to the machine.
Thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome.
I had to set it up on my laptop at home. I couldn't find the invite.
No worries. Okay. Let's see. We have two screens now. Who's bumped? Okay. Oh, hi, Peter. How are you?
Here we go.
Okay.
Good.
So,
I am wonderful, thank you.
hello. Hi, everybody.
You
All
asked.
right. I'm going to call the June Pine Plains Planning Board meeting to order. As I've stated in the other meetings, we are holding this via Zoom in accordance with the executive orders from the governor, the most current one being 202.38, which extended his executive order through July 6th at the moment. Okay, first up on the agenda is the Durst organization pre-sketch application. And I guess we should start with what the consultants reports said. So if, I don't know if BFJ or Ray wants to go first.
Ray, I'll let you go first. I think yours is more critical.
Okay. So I provided correspondence dated June 5th. So hopefully everybody's had an opportunity of taking a look at that. And subsequent to the last planning board meeting, our task was to go through the mapping and the calculations that were prepared by the applicant's consultant, Chazen, and to take a look at the primary and secondary conservation features as far as the mapping, and then to take a look at the yield calculation that they had provided as well. So Chazen was kind enough to provide background information, which were the CAD documents. So those were electronic copies of the maps that they had submitted to the planning board. And that allowed our office to go through and to review the areas of steep slopes, wetlands, water bodies, and things of that nature, and to confirm those areas. So that way we can confirm the numbers that were utilized in the calculations for the yield density. In addition to the electronic copies of the mapping, Chazen also had provided spreadsheets that provided a breakdown of each one of the parcels, but then also the conservation areas as well, or not conservation, excuse me, the environmental constraint areas. And so I provided a copy of those Excel spreadsheets to the board as an attachment to my correspondence. This is simply a starting point for the developer and for the developer's consultants to start laying out a proposed conservation subdivision. And again, this is part of that pre-application, or I'm sorry, pre-sketch plan step that the town of Pine Plains has within its zoning code. So again, we have verified and confirmed the areas. We feel satisfied and comfortable with those. And we're okay with the preliminary lot count at 223, understanding, and as Chazen has even indicated within their correspondence when they originally submitted, that may change as we move forward into the process. Ultimately, when we're getting involved with the environmental impact statement and the studies that would be conducted during that phase. Sarah, anything you would want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just, I think that was a good summary, and our memo of June 4th, which I assume you all have, really piggybacks off of that review that Ray's office conducted. We agreed and came to the same conclusions based on his findings that the 223 for the base residential yield is reasonable at this stage, as well as the open space map, again, with the caveat that this is really a preliminary look at these things, and that, you know, these numbers may change as we go through the next stages of this process, that we really are at the very, very preliminary stage in this pre-sketch process, which is unique, as we've said before, to the town in a lot of ways. And it's not until we get into, the applicant gets into sketch plan and you know, the subdivision plat, that we'll get more information, particularly through the state environmental quality review process and the EIS that will be prepared. And, you know, by moving forward tonight with an authorization on the 223 and the open space resources map as a starting point, that will allow the applicant now to go back probably over the summer months and maybe into the fall to prepare their sketch plan submission.
And again, just as a reminder, and I know it's been said before regarding the existing lot count of the Sports City subdivision, keep in mind that the 223 is not inclusive of any of the parcels within the original subdivision for Sports City, and that would be a separate process that needs to take place at the town board level with recommendations coming from the planning board. But again, they can't start that process until we go and complete this process with the pre-sketch plan.
So, does any of the board members have any questions or comments they want to make at this point?
No, except to note that we did a workshop meeting yesterday and talked about some of this stuff, so. Right. I don't think we need to rehash all of that.
Plan. What about anyone from Durst? Does anyone want to say anything, or are we good?
No, this is Stuart Messinger with Chazen. We're pleased that that our maths are good, and we look forward to the next step.
So Warren prepared a resolution, draft resolution that went out to everyone. I hope everyone got a chance to look at it. I did forward it to everybody. Did anyone not get a chance to look at it on the board?
Okay. Jennifer and I went back and forth today, changing some typos in the resolution. So at the end of the day, I sent a revised draft. I'm hoping that you all have the revised draft, and that will be the one that you'll vote on. Michael, do you want to read the resolution, or?
I'm gonna have to read it. Yes.
Or okay.
Right. I mean, that's what we usually do when we're live, right? So.
Well, I think it's a good idea to read it into the record, and it gives sufficient information for the public on where we're going on this. So.
And just so I make sure, it was from about 5:15 today, right? That was the last version we're talking about.
That was the last version. Yeah.
All right. So, resolution, pre-sketch application Durst project. Whereas on April 15th, 2020, the Durst organization withdrew its pending application for NND, New Neighborhood Development, rezoning, and indicated that it would propose a subdivision of its property consistent with existing zoning. And whereas the zoning law requires that any subdivision of more than 30 lots must be developed as a conservation subdivision, and whereas the mandated process for a conservation subdivision includes an initial review by the planning board, pre-sketch review, which must take place to the applicant's submission of a proposed sketch plan lot layout as more fully described in section 27-31J and related sections of the zoning law. And whereas this pre-sketch review includes a determination of the base residential yield for the subdivision, which is defined in the zoning law as the number of residential lots or dwelling lots that may be achieved in accordance with the regulations set forth in this zoning law prior to any increase in lots or dwelling units that may be allowed through application of a residential density bonus, example, affordable housing bonus, incentive zoning, or other regulation that permits an increase in the residential density that exceeds the yield that can be achieved through application of the minimum bulk requirement, the provisions of 275-16, the special use requirements, or section 275-31C, regulating conservation subdivisions. And whereas the applicant has submitted mapping showing the acreage of the property and the acreage of the areas to be excluded from the calculation of base residential yield as provided in section 275-16, and whereas at the direction of the planning board, the supporting data underlying such calculation has been supplied to the town engineer, who has confirmed that the calculation method that the calculation method leading to the base residential yield of 223 lots as shown in the Hudson Valley lot count table dated 4/15/20 is consistent with the town code. And whereas these provisions of the zoning law further require the planning board in consultation with the applicant to identify and prioritize features to be conserved and to consider the context of the subdivision to resources and adjoining properties and the applicant's development objectives so as to set aside at least 50% of the gross lot area of the property subject to the application as protected open space in the conservation subdivision. And whereas the applicant has provided mapping and area calculations addressing the various conservation features and land cover characteristics on the property, which have been reviewed by the planning board consultants and by the board. And whereas such mapping also shows the context of the subdivision to resources on adjoining and nearby properties, including lands of Thompson Pond Nature Preserve, Duchess Land Conservatory, and Friends of Stissing Landmarks in the town of Pine Plains, and lands within Lafayetteville State Multiple Use Area and Roloff Jansen Kill State Multiple Use Area in the town of Milan. Whereas the applicant has requested the planning board's concurrence with its proposed pre-sketch designation of open space as shown on a map, proposed 50% open space figure, which designates a total of 1,397 acres of the property, constituting 53% of the total acreage as open space, including, just give me a second, 596 acres of wetlands, water courses, water bodies, and the 100-year floodplain, inclusive of a 100-foot buffer around all state and federal regulated wetlands and water bodies, which are considered particularly valuable as providing synergistic open space and other types of benefits, including open space and habitat benefits for a number of species and biological connectivity across the site in all directions, including connectivity to Stissing Mountain CEA and adjoining connected land, the Roloff Jansen Kill Multiple Use Area and Lafayetteville State Multiple Use Area. Some of the designated 596 acres in this category is within the Stissing Mountain CEA and some along the Route 199 corridor. 635 acres constituting steep slopes over 25%, which include the designated ridge line along Little Stissing Mountain. Some of this steep slope acreage is within the Stissing Mountain CEA and some along the Route 199 corridor. 68 acres within the Stissing Mountain CEA, constituting the remaining lands on the applicant's property within that CEA that have not already been designated as wetland, water bodies, buffers, or steep slopes, thus offering protection of the entire CEA on applicant's property. 98 acres, including acres along Route 199, constituting the remaining lands along the corridor not already designated as wetlands, water bodies, buffers, or steep slopes, thus creating continuous open space along Route 199 corridor throughout the applicant's property. And whereas the zoning law provides that the pre-sketch designation of open space shall be used by the applicant as the basis of design of the conservation subdivision to be presented to the planning board in a proposed sketch plan. And whereas the proposed sketch plan layout will become the proposed action to be considered during the seeker process, and such layout will be subject to evaluation and refinement during the more detailed review during the seeker process and in preliminary and final subdivision review. And whereas the town zoning law confirms that the endorsement of the sketch plan shall not be deemed to be approved, to be approval of our preliminary or final plat, according to 275-31J, subsection 4, and the applicable seeker regulations and town law provisions confirm that no proposed conservation subdivision or related permit shall be approved until full compliance with the seeker process, which shall include public scoping, a full environmental impact statement process, and consideration of alternatives in accordance with the law. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the planning board hereby establishes the base residential yield of 223 dwelling units on the property as presently constituted, in it being understood that a reconfiguration of the property to exclude lands allocated to a resort use will require a recalculation of the base residential yield on the acreage then remaining to be allocated to residential uses. The planning board, pursuant to the provisions of section 275-31J, subsection 2B, hereby affirms the delineation of 1,397 acres, 53% of the property, as shown on the map entitled Proposed 50% Open Space Figure, sheet 306 dated 4/15/20 as protected open space within the conservation subdivision for the purposes of authorizing the applicant to prepare a proposed sketch plan for a conservation subdivision for planning board review. The acreage of open space as delineated in the pre-sketch process will continue to be reviewed and boundaries defined as design progresses and state-specific analysis is performed during the sketch plan and preliminary plat phases of the conservation subdivision review and seeker process. The total lot count to be permitted on the property is subject to all other applicable provisions of law, including zoning provisions on density and lot count, subdivision plan review, and the seeker process. The total lot count will continue to be refined through the seeker process, seeker review process based on site-specific environmental studies and a review of project alternatives. And we now will put this to a roll call vote.
You have to make a motion to accept the resolution. Someone has to make a motion to accept the resolution.
I'll make that motion
Okay.
to accept the resolution.
I'll second it.
I just saw, well, hold on one second, everyone. Peter, where's Peter?
Right here.
Oh, you did not get this version of the,
No, but I listened to you read it.
so,
Could you explain it to us?
Could you?
I'm not sure I can.
Is,
Jennifer did a very good job putting that together.
an awful lot of whereas clauses, the
Yeah,
decretal.
we like to do that.
Yeah,
Make
I
it
know.
confusing.
but I take it, Peter, you're fine with it as far as.
Yes, I approve if that's your question.
Okay. All right. So sorry. So who made a motion to accept the resolution?
I did. Yeah, Ken.
Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dick seconded. All right. So we're gonna go through. I guess let's go with Kate first. How do you vote?
Aye.
Steve,
I'm in favor, yes.
any, Jane,
Yes.
Vicky? Is that I, Vicky? We can't hear you. You're muted.
She's muted. Vicky, you're muted.
I'm muted.
You can give a thumbs up.
Shake your head, yes.
Shake your head yes if you, okay.
Okay. We'll accept that.
Dick,
Yes,
and Ken, did I ask you already?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we have, again, Peter being an alternate, we're not going to take your vote tonight because we have enough members. But
Okay.
appreciate your contribution as always. Okay, so the motion to accept the resolution as read has passed.
So this will be posted on the website. And
Absolutely.
I remind the board and the public that BFJ Planning in their May 6th letter to the board has a very nice outline of the entire process. If anybody wants to refer to that rather than just going to the zoning law. And we're anticipating, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but we're anticipating that it will take some time for the Durst and his consultants and their consultants to get back to us. So it's my understanding it may be a number of months before we hear from them again. Don't be disappointed if it doesn't come in next week.
Have a nice summer, everybody.
I was going to say, if that's the case, have a nice summer. We'll see you in the fall.
And I also wanted to say that those documents are also available on our Dropbox
Right.
that we've been posting prior to these meetings. So the public can view those documents in our Dropbox.
And there was a pretty good discussion of the process at last night's workshop meeting, which was also public, so.
Definitely, yes. Watch that video too. Okay, so I take it, Warren, we're done with Durst for today.
We're done with them for a while.
All
Good
right.
seeing you guys. See you soon. Have fun.
Have a great summer. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone. Have a great summer.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, so next up on the agenda is the Dale Mitchell. Yes, Dale Mitchell lot line adjustment. Dale, are you on the phone? I see Trish, is he muted on his end or do we have him muted?
I'm here.
Ah,
There he is.
hi, Dale.
I'm here. Can
Okay,
you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Do, but I guess you can't hear me.
We hear you fine.
We can hear you.
Okay, I'm here. And I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So what, with this application, we sent it over to Ray, the town engineer, to, for his comments, which he then came back with a comment letter that I believe everyone received. This, and also this is also available in our Dropbox for the meeting documents tonight. On that, actually, Ray, can you just summarize the items that you felt that we needed to see from the applicant?
Yeah, absolutely. So primarily, the correspondence that I provided, so that correspondence was dated back on May 19th, 2020. Primarily, the correspondence and comments relate to easements located on the property. Our recommendation, we're aware that there are easements that are associated with the parcels that are involved in the lot line realignment. So as an example, there is the current private road that serves the post office as well as the car wash and commercial buildings. Those all apparently have an easement over that existing private road. And so Our point is that it's important that that easement be shown on the plan. And it's also as important that the language associated with that easement when it was first developed be provided to the town attorney for review and comment. In addition to that, there's the southerly private road that is on the property, and that's currently been utilized and has been historically been utilized by Stewart's as a means of egress and ingress into their site. And similarly, there should be an easement associated with that particular private road. And again, that information should be submitted to Warren for review and comment. And it should be identified on the plan as well, because it does not appear to be shown on the plan. In addition to that, in the past, there have been issues with those two private roads as far as maintenance. And our recommendation is that a maintenance agreement, hopefully there was one that may have been formulated, but if not, that one become developed by the applicant and again, be submitted to the town attorney for review and comment as well to ensure that that roadway is continuously maintained since it's used by the public for those parcels. In addition to that, in looking at some records down at the pump house for the Pine Plains Water Improvement Area, there was a water line that was installed many years ago along Route 82, and it appears that an easement may have been granted or should have been granted across Mr. Mitchell's land for the installation of that water line. And that water line was installed as part of the Stewart's project when that was done many, many years ago. That's how the water actually got down to the Stewart's site. So based on some information there, it indicated that there was to be an easement. So again, similarly, I would think and strongly recommend that the easement be shown on the plan and a copy of the easement be provided to Warren's office as well. Again, for review and comment. The only other comment similarly had to do with an easement associated with Titan Barrel, the warehouse located off of 83. Currently, there are two curb cuts onto the county roadway, one on Mr. Mitchell's land, one on Titan Barrel's land. And it appears, although that being said, it appears that Titan Barrels has been utilizing and has been crossing over Mr. Mitchell's land and utilizing that the access on Mr. Mitchell's land. So one of two things should take place. Either an easement should be provided if Mr. Mitchell is going to continue to allow that parcel to gain access over his property. If that's not the case and it's not Mr. Mitchell's wishes to do that, then the portion of that access road that Titan Barrels is currently using, that should be removed in its entirety, and therefore it would block them from using that. It should not affect their business at all because they already have access directly onto County Route 83 on their own property. So it should not adversely affect them as far as their operation.
Ray, let me ask you, what are the issues that have arisen from the town standpoint with regard to the access past the post office and the M&D property? Who's been maintaining that road and repairing the road? I know that there were issues over the years of
yeah, if last time I remember, and Drew may be able to help out. I believe, and I'd have to check with Heather, but I recall several years ago there was some pretty severe potholes in that roadway that served the post office and the car wash. And at the time, the town had reached out to the owner of the property, which I believe was Blue. I'm trying to remember the developer that was going to be developing that at one time. But never received any response. So actually, I believe the town actually had made repairs and may have placed it on back taxes, if I remember correctly, or charged against the landowner. I think that was done, Drew, correct me if I'm wrong, as many as 5 years ago, if not even perhaps a little longer.
There was another one more recently, though, I think.
So
Another what more recently?
Another repair by the town of the pothole. The pothole keeps opening up again and again.
Yeah. Yeah, I looked at all the documentation and the records that Dale had provided, and we had done our own research. And it's clear that the town has a valid easement and right of way over that road going past the post office up to access its property. I'm not concerned about that. That's a matter of record, and that's encumbers the property. It certainly should be shown on the subdivision map, and there should be a reference to that easement. But the concern I have is the lack of any sort of road maintenance agreement for the first part of that property, which ends in on the original plans, it was supposed to end in a cul-de-sac after the M&D property, which was never built. I would like to avoid any subsequent issues with the town and this road by having Dale get the I guess it would be now 3 property owners who access their properties over that road, and just have a road maintenance agreement. And the town, I have no objection if the town participates in that road maintenance agreement for purposes of the first portion of the road up to the cul-de-sac shown on the map. So I would discuss it with the town board, and I would have no problem with the town board being a party to that. But it's not fair to the town at this point to bear responsibility for repairing that road, considering it's used by other property owners, commercial property owners. So we'd like to see that prepared, Dale, and submitted to me for my review and approval. The other road that's adjacent to Stewart's, as best I could determine from the file deeds, the owner of that road has a responsibility to maintain that road. And I'm assuming that that's still Dale. Dale owns that road. So we would expect that road be, if there's any problems with that road, that would be maintained by Dale Mitchell. Have we had problems with that road also, or? Drew, have there been any problems with the road that goes past Stewart?
I don't believe so, Warren.
Okay. And it's up to Dale whether he wants to enter into some sort of road maintenance agreement with Stewart's. Perhaps they could share the expense of maintaining that road. That probably would be a good idea. It'd be nice to clean all these things up now.
Can I respond for a minute?
Sure.
Yeah. As far as the road maintenance is concerned, that's been a problem, and I agree that it should be taken care of, and we'll have it taken care of. The best way for me to deal with that, quite honestly, is just to sign an agreement with the town to maintain it myself. There are maintenance agreements that I have not enforced, and that Tom Liu, the previous owners, have not enforced. And to try to enforce those at this point would probably not work. So I'd rather just sign an agreement to maintain it myself. And just for the record, I did pay for the maintenance. Doug Weaver took care of maintenance of that road several times, and I paid for it several times. There may have been some charges, and the town may have done something to the road, but I have never been aware of the town actually doing any maintenance on that road. But that I'm not confident that that's correct. But I did pay for maintenance of it twice through Doug Weaver. So just to respond to the other things in Ray's letter, I have no problem with providing the easements. I believe, Warren, there were 40 pages of easements that were transmitted to you by Drew Weaver from my lawyer.
Well, they're not all easements, but there were 40 pages of documents. Some of them were easements, some of them were other documents.
Okay, and other easements for the roads, those were private agreements within the contract. I don't think any easements were ever recorded. If I give you copies of the contract agreements, is that sufficient?
Well, I could live with a document under which you assume responsibility for maintenance of that road going past the post office to the cul-de-sac. In lieu of what we look for in a road maintenance agreement is ultimate responsibility for maintaining the road. If it's everybody who shares the road, that's the perfect solution. If it's just one of the owners who assumes full responsibility, I'd have to review that document, but that probably would be acceptable to the town board. We'd have to
Okay,
see.
I will get such a document to you to review, because I think that's the best way to deal with it.
Right. And this is these are complex documents, so it might be a good idea to have, I don't know which attorney you use, but if you want to have the attorney contact me directly, I could talk to him or her about it. So.
Okay, thank you. I will do that.
Okay.
Okay, as far as the Titan barrel issue, I will certainly take care of that. That has been physically blocked off with pieces of timbers that are sitting there, blocking that off, and they have not been using it as a second driveway, but it should have been removed from the map. Ray is correct on that, and I will take it off the map. But they are not using it and have not been using it. I don't know if that covers everything or not.
What we do want to see is, we're talking about the easement for the water line. That that should be shown on the map, and we need to have a deeded easement for that. Again, that's not a complex, that's something that your attorney could prepare. Do we have Ray, do we have a description of the location of the water line?
I have an old as-built that I was able to recover. What I can do is I can get that scanned and then submit that. I also have a few pages of an original agreement between the town and Mr. Mitchell regarding that water line as well. I don't have the entire document. But at least I have a portion of it as it pertains to the water department, because it also dealt with the road construction and so forth. Now, maybe there was an attachment to that as an exhibit that actually provided for an easement description. But I'll get that documentation, Warren, to you, and maybe through the town's clerk's office. Maybe we can check with Judith, see if she actually has an original of the entire document, because I just have, like I said, a small portion of that.
Okay. I think that should be in the stuff that was sent to you, Warren. Or was it not there? There was a 1992 agreement. Is that what you're referring to?
I'm sorry.
There was a 1992
I didn't see anything about the water line.
Yeah, regarding that water line, and there was an attachment to that describes it.
There was a document. I wasn't sure what that was. I'll take another look at that. That could be what Ray is talking about.
I think that's what he's referring to.
But that sounds about the right time frame, roughly 1992. But I'll get a copy of the as-built, and I'll get that sent over. And
Ray, I'll forward to you all the documents that I received from Dale Mitchell.
Okay, so great.
You'll have the same.
Perfect.
So none of these are difficult to resolve, but they do have to be resolved. The other thing is that I wasn't happy with the merger deed, and I did a memo to the board. The merger deed is a two-step process. What you're going to have to do is first have a deed from Dale and Marilyn to Dale of the 30.294 acres, and then simultaneously, and that would be to the Dale Mitchell Trust, which owns the 4-acre parcel. And then simultaneously, you're going to have to then create a deed from the Dale Mitchell Trust merging the property that you received from Dale and Marilyn with the existing 4 acres. That's how, and that has to be referred to as a merger deed, that the intent is that you're merging both of those parcels into one deed, and you can attach the new deed description for that. And because that's the way it works.
And
So-
then wouldn't there have to be a third merger deed then for the 39.731 acres?
No, because whatever's left of that parcel, of the 70-acre parcel, is that's the remaining acreage for that parcel. You don't have, I mean, Dale did prepare a deed for that with a new deed description. That's fine. You can file it. I don't mind. But that's not necessary, because once you deed out that 39 acres, then that parcel consists of what's left. And that will be rectified in parcel access and at the county level. So,
Warren, can I have Tom McGregor, my lawyer, contact you about that?
yeah, I did a memo to the board. So if you could get that memo from Michael, and that should explain exactly what has to be done. And,
Okay.
And if he has questions, he can call me. I have no problem with that.
Okay, thank you.
So Tricia, you have that memo to send to get to Dale?
I think so. I'll double check. If for some reason I don't, I'll ask
I don't
Warren.
have Dale's contact info, that's why I asked.
Yes, I don't, you don't have an email though, right, Dale?
No, I'm computer ignoramus, as they say.
Okay, I can mail it to you.
I fully sympathize with you.
Okay, I'm sorry for all the problems this is creating, but I guess I'll refer back to the previous lot line adjustment that I did a few years ago. And that went easily and quickly, and I thought this would go the same way, but I guess not.
It's not a problem. It's not difficult. It just has to be done correctly. The confusion with the problem with you, with your situation, is that one of the parcels is owned by you and Marilyn, the other is by the trust. So everything's going to have to go into the trust. You might want to have a third deed where you deed out that trust property back to you. I don't know how I'll leave that up to you. That's nothing I should be involved in. So.
Yeah, and Dale, also again, so any and all easements, please make sure that you get those descriptions to the surveyor, so that way the plan can be updated and it can show all of those easements that occur on the property.
You really feel that all those easements need to be on that map? The map is already very confusing.
It's a confusing
Placing
map.
all those easements on there is going to make it very.
Well, I definitely want a reference to the easement for the town on the up to their property. It's shown on the map, but I want it referenced. There's 2 file documents that relate to that, so I'd like to have that shown on the map so there's no confusion, because we always get into this issue, who's responsible for what are our rights to that easement, and that will clarify it.
Yeah, well, there are two aspects of showing them on the map. One is cluttering the map. The other is it's going to get extremely expensive for me to have all those easements mapped out. And I would prefer to just do what I think would be normal, would be supply you with copies of all the easements to your final agreement, but not map them all.
Well,
you can refer to them on the map perhaps, but to actually map them out would be costly and very confusing, I think, overall.
Have those easements been filed with the county, Dale?
Some have.
You're referring to?
Yeah, some have been. I think the one with the water line easement that Ray was referring to and that we were just discussing, that's been filed with the county. And I think Warren has a copy of that. And that has an attachment to it where it describes the easement very clearly.
I must confess, I don't recall seeing that, but I'll look through those. I'll look through the documents again, and Ray can.
Yeah, it was.
But the easement for the town is already shown on the map. On your
Not for
The
that-
subdivision.
easement
Not for the
already shown,
water line.
yes.
Yeah.
Not for the water line along Route 82.
Yeah, but not for the water line. So you don't have to do much. I mean, the map is so hard it is hard to read. All I want is a reference to the fact that where that's recorded. And it may be
Yeah,
that
well,
it's already there, but it's hard for me to read this.
Yeah, I'll make sure you have that. I thought that was part of what was sent to you by Tom McGregor already. But if you don't have it, I can get that to you. It is very clear. There's nothing ambiguous about it.
Right. But the important thing is the responsibility for the maintenance of that road. So that's something we really want to clear up.
That's been a pain in everybody's rear end for a long time. I'm sorry
Okay,
about that.
so this will be the time we can clear it up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're correct. And I will get Tom to do an agreement on that, and I'll have him speak to you about it to make sure he gets the language correct.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay? So if we can agree, basically, that as long as we get you copies of all the easements to your satisfaction, and maybe make some reference to them on the map, that we won't have to map them out, I'd appreciate that.
Well, I still would like to have the water line easement along Route 82 shown on the map. Because currently that easement is not shown. And again, to protect the town, I think it's best that that actually be shown on the map.
I agree with that. Warren, is there a way for him to just reference file documents to these other items beyond what?
I mean, there's always ways to do that, but if Ray, as our engineer, is concerned about having that shown on the map,
Oh, I agree with that.
I'd rather have the fact, notice to the public that there is that easement, there's a water line there, so it'd be helpful to have it shown on the map. I don't think you're talking about that much of an expense to do that.
But I'm talking about the other thing, the other ones that you say cause clutter. We all agree what the water line needs to be shown, but what about the other? What else? The other ones that you were asking for?
Well, the other one is the town's easement, and that is shown on the map. But I just want a reference to the filed easement. There's a deed reference to it, which was part of what was sent to me. So it's just a matter of putting the Liburn page of the deed reference to that easement.
Right. So that
deeded
shouldn't
to
be
the town of Pine Plains.
or
Yeah.
hard to do, right?
But the important thing is the road maintenance agreement, or the assumption of responsibility for maintaining that road. Very important.
So Dale, are you clear on what you have to get done?
I think so. I think so. And
If your attorney has
Warren,
any questions, have him call me. I'm happy to talk to him.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that, and I will follow up on it immediately. It's going to take some time to get everything done, I'm sure, and with everything the way it is with the virus and everything, it's very difficult. So I will do the best I can, get it to you as quickly as I can.
Sounds good, Dale. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Dale.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, so the next item up is another lot line adjustments. McLiberty, is that how you say the name? Hopefully I said that right. And we have, I don't know the first name. I see McLiberty's iPhone, and we have Marie here. So,
Hi, Michael. Yes, I'm here. This is Beth McLiberty.
Beth. Hi, Beth. How are you?
Hi.
And I'm Marie Welch from Welch Surveying.
Welcome.
Thank
Okay. Actually, I wish I didn't pull up that map. Do we have anyone? Trisha, you don't have that map to share, do you? I'll just give me a second here. I'm sorry. I had so many things pulled up. I forgot to pull that one up.
No problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Ah, there we go. Okay, Beth, would you like to describe what you would like to do here?
Well, I think I'll leave it to Marie to describe
Okay.
since she did the survey.
Okay. Well, what are you trying to accomplish? What is the purpose of this?
Okay, so basically, I have a property that my uncle purchased in 1953. He purchased part of the lot next door when the person requested his help financially. And so basically, I'm trying to sell back some of the property that my uncle had purchased so that the current owners can expand their property line to a more logical angle. So that's basically it.
Okay, Marie, I guess you can go ahead and take us through the map.
Okay, well, as you see, we have done the boundary survey of the property of Damaris Ingenito Lambrea and Frank Lambrea. And I had previously surveyed the property for Elizabeth McLiverty. So we were able to determine, I can say, I don't show any of the improvements on her property, but there are none within, I don't know, 35, 45 feet of the property line of the new proposed boundary line. We've got a strip of land that's a little less than 30 feet wide because it's 30 feet at the road side, at the Cedar Drive side. But because it's not a perpendicular line, the actual strip is like 29.4 feet or 29.6 feet wide. And essentially that strip of land would be conveyed to the neighbors to become part and parcel of their land by consolidation. It leaves a parcel of land for McLiverty of 1.26 acres, and it increases the Lambrea lands from 0.64 to 0.89 acres. I'm sorry, 8.849 acres.
So, okay, so as we look at the map, the line's moving basically to the left.
Correct. You see the land hook that shows the land, the strip of land is being adjoined to the Lambrea property.
Right. And you say there's nothing within 40 feet as that line moves?
I can confirm that, but I know there was nothing, I would say probably even within 50 feet. Everything was on the more or less the west side of the McLiverty property.
Yeah, and I would
West side.
concur. So my house slopes down pretty significantly into a little bit of a ravine. So it's really not usable property for me. So that's why there is no development down there.
Is that where Carl and Carol used to live, the house?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Just trying to get my bearing.
Yep.
Yes, this would be the first house on the right if you go from Lakeshore Drive onto Cedar Drive.
Ray, did you get a chance to look at this? I take it there's no issues?
Yeah, I did take a look at it. And then I just had a quick question for Marie, the applicant surveyor regarding lake rights, and she's clarified that issue. So I'm fine with the mapping and what's been shown. So no other issues.
I did get a chance earlier today. I know it was short timing. I did send out a draft consolidation deed, but maybe no one's had a chance to look at that yet.
I saw it. I have the same, which you gave me as the first leg of the consolidation deed. So I'm going to need the important thing is that Conway then has to prepare, and we have to have filed a consolidation deed consolidating the properties getting from your client with his property.
So you're talking about a complete boundary, the description of the complete boundary with the law added to it.
It doesn't matter to me whether you have a new description or whether you just do a consolidation deed, deeding the two parcels. Whatever's your preference, as long as we have a merger deed, so that the parcel that's taken away from Liberty is not sitting there as a orphan property. Then it has to become part of the Conway property, and that has to be done by a merger deed.
Well, that was in the last clause of the deed that I prepared. It said to be combined with adjacent lands.
It says two, yeah, but we need that deed.
Oh, yeah, but you
I'm
can't
gonna
file
want to
that.
see, I'm gonna want to see that, make sure that deed's filed.
Right,
That's-
but we can't file it until the map is filed.
No, I understand, but it's gonna be a
Okay.
condition. There is
Yeah.
another document that we'll need to see that,
Okay,
to complete the process. That's the most important part, the merger.
well,
If-
if it doesn't merge with theirs, it just stays with McLiberty. It never becomes a separate parcel. It's not like a 30-foot strip it becomes a
Right,
lot.
but it doesn't become part of Conway until Conway
Well, it's not,
files the merger deed. Otherwise, he owns two properties.
it's not Conway, it's Lembrea. Conway is the adjacent owner on the east.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. Whoever
Yeah,
owns
that's-
that property.
Yeah, right,
I'm
right.
sorry, yeah.
Okay,
So they have to, and I don't care whether you do it by one deed description for the new one, or whether the merger deed just says we're merging the 0.208 with the remainder of the property to merge into one parcel.
gotcha.
We just want to see that.
Okay.
And Ray, I'm assuming there's no problems with, what zoning district is this in? What's the minimum lot size there?
It's the
Uh,
RA zoning district,
Yeah.
and I don't remember but we're increasing, it's more than, it's less than, I shouldn't say, I had it in front of me and I don't have it right now. But we made sure that we were not making any lot substandard when we
Correct.
created this lot.
Okay, so
Yeah, so
remaining parcel would be, would meet these.
It's
minimum
over an
acre.
acre.
Okay, all
yeah,
right.
of the McLiberty, correct. That
Yeah, that's
does
fine.
not become substandard because they're giving the lands to the.
Right. And I had no problem with the issue of the dock. That's not a problem.
Right. Yes, Maria provided that information.
Yeah.
So I was fine with it as well.
Okay. Does any of the board members have any questions?
Should we just address the fact that it's type 2 under seeker and therefore won't require any more environmental review?
Yeah, I mean, you should put that in your resolution approving it, you know. Do you have a resolution ready for that?
We do
I
not.
don't,
This
but-
this is our first time talking about this, so we do not have a resolution ready to go.
I'm sorry, couldn't hear you.
We did not get a resolution ready to go because we hadn't
Oh.
even discussed this yet. So
Well,
First time it's seen.
can we?
you want to put this off to the next meeting then? And prepare a resolution?
Do we have to waive the public hearing?
No, a public hearing is only required in a lot line adjustment if you require a public hearing.
It's just a boundary line change, so what's the point of a public hearing?
Right.
No,
we
I'm just
waited
making
the
sure
public
we didn't
hearing.
have to waive it. That's all.
Yeah,
So let's, I guess we're just gonna have to put it off, or, I mean, we just do it? No, we'll get that other deed ready and have that, and you look at it, Warren, and.
Yeah,
we'll
I
have
just
it-
want to approve the deed. Marie, is there any time sensitivity? Can this wait till the next meeting and we'll pass the resolution?
I would check with Beth, but I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
No,
I'd
I
rather
don't,
have a written resolution.
That's fine.
I'm fine with waiting until the next meeting.
Waiving what?
Waiting.
Waiting till the next meeting.
Yeah.
Tricia,
so-
Yeah, waiting.
Draft
Okay. I think that's good. And then just send me a draft of the next deed that you referred to, and I'll sign off on that.
I may get in touch with you, Warren, because I'm not sure what you're asking for beyond what I've already given you.
Okay, I'll refer to your meets and bounds. So it says parcel A to be conveyed to Frank Lambreria and Damaris, whatever,
That's fine.
Ignacio Lambreria, to be part and parcel with their lands by consolidation. So they have to consolidate the parcel they're getting from you with their remaining lands by a merger or consolidation deed.
Okay, that's what I said. I thought that's what I provided you. So you
No,
want me
you
to put the description of their,
Provided the deed from your client to
oh,
the
so you
neighbor.
want a deed from Frank and Damaris Lambreo to Frank and Damaris Lambreo?
That's the important deed,
Okay.
the merger deed.
Okay,
Because otherwise,
Well, the county will accept it and merge it the way I've provided to you, but I'll
they
give you.
will, but we want it.
That's fine.
Right. Or they might, yeah, they won't need a merger deed, but we're
County
gonna want to,
doesn't.
we're gonna want to see that.
Okay.
That's, we want proof of filing that.
Like I say, I can't file it until the map is filed.
Yeah, you just do it with the map and then send us proof of filing of both deeds and then we're done. If you have any questions about the language, just give me a call, but
Okay.
usually, what I usually do when I do it is I call it a merger deed so that it's drawn to the attention of the county when they're doing
Okay.
parcels, you know, signing new tax parcels,
Okay.
maps.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll get that in order, and next time we'll vote on it.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
Michael.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Do you need me for anything else or?
I was gonna say, I think Warren and Ray can go. We're done with that portion of the
All
meeting.
right, good
Thank
seeing
you,
you guys. We'll see you at the next meeting. If you have any questions, in the meantime, you know where to find me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Too.
First up, the next up is the approval of the May minutes. Did everyone get a chance to look over the May minutes?
Yep.
Any problems or issues?
I move we accept the minutes.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
The minutes for May have been accepted. Let's see, is there any other business? Drew, do you have anything that you need to talk about, or are you good?
No, I have nothing new.
All right. I'm trying to think, does anyone have anything else?
We had that letter from Jane Hottenson. I don't know if you responded to that or,
Oh, yeah, Drew is taking care of that.
okay.
He in touch with the owner of that property, and then he also, Drew, you ended up sending a letter to Jane?
I haven't yet.
Okay. When we had that resolved, he was gonna know what's going on. He's gonna send that to her. I did reach out to her to tell her that she would be hearing from Drew. So it's really Drew's thing to handle. Let's see. I'm taking a course. I don't know if anyone else saw any courses that you can watch. You just watch them online. Taking this Lula thing, but keep an eye out. Get your education credits, and then you just have to have a letter. Whatever, have the receipt that you attended or something that they'll send you, or that the RSVP from them, and you just describe the course and hand it in to Judy and Trisha, and that's how we'll get credit for it. And I don't think any of them cost anything, so. All right, so with that, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.